In case y'all don't know who this is, and if you haven't been following the trial, this right here is Martin Rivera. And let's just say him being on the stand this week for Amber Geiger's trial did more harm to him than good. More damage, anyway. The obvious is we found out that he is the guy that had a sexual relationship with Amber Geiger. We also found out that he is married with 2 kids. And he pretty much got exposed in that courtroom when those text messages pretty much got shown to him. As a matter of fact, when I was on Lisa's live stream the other day, she showed the picture of how his facial expression looked when he got showed those messages in front of the courtroom. And mind you, his wife was there in the courtroom while giving his testimony. So she heard every little detail that day that she may or may not have already known. But that's just one aspect of it, because something else came out about Martin Rivera this week. And that's something that they probably won't mention in the case because it has nothing to do with it. But it's definitely sparked something, or reignited something, I should say. Apparently, back in 2007, Martin Rivera was involved with a shooting that was deadly. And it echoes something that many of us already hear all the time. According to various sources, reliable ones, and one I'm going to read, back in 2007, Martin Rivera fatally shot an unarmed black man. Now, what are the odds that 12 years later, or should I say, well, maybe 11 years later, because not really counting 2019, but he would be hooking up with a woman who would go on to kill an unarmed black man in his apartment? What are the odds? It's almost like these two were made together in the same rotting pod. Like I said, him taking a stand did more harm than good. One, because it exposed his infidelity, and how did it expose something from his past. And now because of it, it said local activists, in which the article I'm going to read from, are wanting to reinvestigate that shooting. So apparently it sounds like it was a case that got closed. But now because he took the stand in this case with Amber Geiger, now the family and whoever and all the activists involved with that case back then want it reopened. I'm going to read this article coming from DallasNews.com. It says Dallas police officer Martin Rivera took the stand this week in the Amber Geiger trial, where prosecutors revealed that Geiger and himself had an on-again, off-again sexual relationship. Rivera has something else in common with Geiger. The 17-year-old DPD veteran also shot and killed an unarmed man. On March 22, 2007, Rivera shot 20-year-old Brandon Washington outside a Pleasant Grove convenience store where the man was eating an allegedly stolen candy bar. Members of the group said that Rivera's testimony Monday raised questions about his integrity, and the case preceded new policies in the district attorney's office that independently looked into officer shootings. That's something that we pushed for, and it wasn't until that happened that we began to get any indictments basically in fatal shootings, said John Fullenwider, a co-founder of Mothers Against Police Brutality. Antoinette Washington said she had questioned the legitimacy of the investigation into her son's shooting. During the news conference, she broke down in tears as she described the past 12 years without her son. She said she felt ill after seeing Rivera testify that he deleted his text with Geiger after the shooting. It blew my mind to see him in another case, she said. I knew he was no good then. Justice has failed. The Dallas Police Department did not immediately respond to a request for comment Wednesday. Reached by phone Wednesday, Dallas Police Association President Mike Mata declined to comment, saying he could be called to testify. Washington described her son as a goofy young man who loved to have fun and pull pranks. She said he didn't have a violent history and had gotten in trouble only for criminal trespass. His nickname was Lil Wimp because as a baby, he couldn't lift himself up as he crawled. The night he was killed, Washington was suspected by a clerk of shoplifting a candy bar at a convenience store on Lake June Road in Pleasant Grove. When Washington was slow to take his hands out of his pockets, Rivera shot him once in the head and leg, and he died later. No weapons was recovered from Washington, according to news reports at the time. The item in his pocket was a cell phone, his mother said. A grand jury looked at the case, and Rivera was not charged with the crime. Colette Flanagan, who helped start MAPB after Dallas police killed her own unarmed son, Clinton Allen, said police officials reported that Rivera thought Washington had a gun. Flanagan said the group wants Rivera fired immediately and the Washington case reopened and investigated. He's on oath saying he destroyed evidence, Flanagan said. If you ever destroy evidence for your lover, you certainly would destroy it for yourself. Sarah McCurry, another MAPB founder, said Dallas officers in past decades who killed people were routinely no-billed by grand juries and the cases need to be reviewed. Before Balch Springs, Officer Roy Oliver was found guilty of murder in 2018. An officer had not been indicted in Dallas County since 1973. Oliver was sentenced to 15 years in prison for the murder of Jordan Edwards, a 15-year-old boy shot while riding in a car with other teenagers leaving a house party. More than 4 decades had passed in Dallas County since another police officer was found guilty of murder in an on-duty shooting. You know what's so crazy? Them saying that they have not found a lot of these cops guilty in so long, in decades, echoes through many other various departments around the establishment. I'm almost certain that many other departments have not or will not find many officers guilty for decades at a time because they just refuse to convict their own. Santos Rodriguez, who was 12 years old, was shot in the head in 1973 while handcuffed in a Dallas police car after officers picked him up and his brother on suspicion of burglary. Officer Daryl L. Kane interrogated the boy Russian roulette style with a gun to his head. Kane was found guilty. He served 2.5 years of a 5-year prison sentence. And see, when they then when they sentenced him to prison, the sentence is never really that long. I mean, you have 2.5 years on a 5-year sentence, which means he did not serve his whole time. Then you had that one that killed that boy back in 2000. What was it? They said 15. And he only got 15 years. He's still in jail now. But, I mean, this is short sentence. And who knows what they'll give Amber Geiger should she be found guilty. They want to really throw the book at her. They want to so badly. McCurry said officer fatal shootings deserve to go to trial and have evidence presented to the public. She said in Geiger's case, it revealed the special treatment she received after killing Botham Jean. Trials like this are extremely important because they lift the blue veil and show us what's happening in the police department. Like I said, him getting on that stand did more harm than good. For him at least. But it has exposed him. But it makes you wonder, will they reopen the case and reinvestigate it on the fact that he got up there and said what he said, or will they allow it to stay closed? They're going to feel a lot of pressure now. They probably was like, oh shit, we should have not put him up there. That's why I said Amber Geiger has a weak defense team. Because they just literally, their whole case is really sloppy, and it shows. Like, that their whole case has more plot holes in it than Swiss cheese. But we'll see what the outcome of it is. Because, you know, anything can happen. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments. And I'll talk to you in the next one.